Hello everyone, my name is Ryan, and in this lesson we'll be learning all about headings in HTML. So I'm going to create a brand new document and I'm going to save it as headings.html, and then I'm going to just add in a template for my document and just give it a title of headings, and also then just add in a main heading. Now a main heading is always your H1. So let's do a live preview on this to have a look at what it looks like. So you can see now we've got a nice big bold heading. So headings are automatically bold. Now we have heading tags all the way from H1 to H6 being the smallest of the 6 headings. So for a subheading we would typically use an H2. Let me just leave on the live preview so we can see what's happening. You'll notice that the live preview shows the subheading being a little bit smaller than the main heading, but it's also in bold text. Let's now do an example of an H3. And you'll see it's even smaller than the heading 2. And then just for fun we'll do a heading 6 as well. So it's still bold, but it's pretty small. Now don't worry too much about the appearance of these headings, because we've seen that with CSS we can easily change the look and feel of these headings. Just understand them purely from a structural point of view, structuring your document. So typically you'd have every page having a main heading, followed perhaps by some subheadings. Let's call it section 1, and then maybe do some text underneath that in a paragraph. I'm just going to use a little trick here to quickly generate some text. Cheat it a little bit. I'll show you in a later video how to do that cheat there. I used a tool called Emmet to do this, which is a plugin which I've added on to brackets. So look out for another video on Emmet. Okay, so here I've got a main heading with a section 1 and 3 paragraphs. Now typically you would then have another heading underneath that, and also a subheading. Let's say section 2. So there's no reason why I have to use a heading 3. Just think of it the headings being on different levels as each other. And then I'll just copy and paste. Okay, so now you can see we've got main heading, subheading, some paragraphs, another subheading, some paragraphs. But let's say section 1 had an additional subheading that we needed to add. So then it would be a heading 3. Let's say it's a subsection or something like that. Okay, so you can see that by using the different headings it helps structure the document. Typically you would only need to use from heading 1 to about heading 3. It's very rare that you would go as far as using a heading 4, 5 or 6. But even just these 3 are extremely useful on their own. Okay, so another thing to understand about these headings is they are known as block level tags. And a block level tag is essentially a tag that has the full width of the browser. So you'll see that as I stretch out the browser, it's hard to see that it has the full width, but brackets does show a little blue box around the live preview. And that shows me that it's actually it's got the full width of the browser by default. So all headings are known as block level elements. A block level element also has its own margins. So it has a built-in top margin and a bottom margin, and that's why we got this extra spacing between these elements. So even a paragraph is known as a block level element, so that's why between 2 paragraphs there's also that margin. later on in the course we'll be looking at the difference between the inline and the block elements. So obviously we would like to make our headings look a little bit nicer, and we do that typically with a bit of CSS. So to add some CSS in, I'm just going to firstly create a brand new file. I'll just save it as headings.css, and then I'm going to create a rule here for my headings, and I'm just going to say, well, the main heading will have a color of red, and maybe change the font family to Arial, and save that. Now remember, you need to link to the CSS file, so we do that using a link tag. Okay, notice the heading is turned red and it's got a font of Arial. So a quick way in brackets to make changes to that, I can just do a quick edit by right clicking on the heading and saying quick edit, and that just brings up that inline editor we spoke about earlier. And now I could easily just change this to a green, for example, and then just save that, and then I could close it out. But now what happens if I wanted to apply the same rule to a heading 2 as well? Well, what I could do is go back to the CSS file and add a comma followed by an H2, and that will immediately apply it to all my subheadings as well. And if I really wanted to, I could also add in the H3 as well, and now they're all green and Arial font. But let's say I wanted my heading 3 to be a different color. Well, all I need to do is remove it from here and add a new rule for heading 3. Just set the color to orange. We said heading 3, right? Okay. And it's as simple as that. So that brings us to the end of the section on adding headings to our document using HTML.